Boss, can you unmute yourself?
Hello, hello.
There you are, boss. There you are. So you've been waiting all this time.
I sure have.
So this is almost 95% improvised, right?
Yes, isn't that how you like it, Senor Petrini?
But also you like it too. So first of all, how are you? How are you? How are things over there?
Things are not too bad. It's the beginning of winter for sure. It's getting cold. We're gonna have our first -5 night in 2 days. So winter's coming, and we've had a pretty good month.
Okay, but one question: don't you think that it is funny in these days when there is all this talk about Facebook? Everybody starts finally to get scared about social medias, virtual reality. That we talk like this on a Zoom link in a virtual way. What made you stay in Copenhagen? Was it the fear of crossing Europe? Was it because you are also busy? Because it's the pleasure of homestaying?
I guess it's a little bit of everything, but ever since the pandemic started, we knew that we were going to have to do a series of dinners, or let me put it in a different way. We knew we had to find some way of getting revenue in because we were closed for 9 months altogether. And so we were supposed to do some dinners tonight, actually, in Los Angeles, but I'm sitting here in Copenhagen because as I think we all know, USA is opening, I think, on Monday now. And so everything we've been planning actually went got canceled. But at the same time, I also got used to being at home. It's the beauty about 9 months of being closed is that for the first time since I was 15, and I'll be 44 in a month, I was actually home eating I was supposed to say staff meal. Eating at home for more than 2 weeks straight. That's the first time since I was 15 I tried that. Since I was 15, the main meal of my life has been staff meal. And you kind of get used to a routine of being here at home. So it's a mix of everything, but mostly it's because we were supposed to be in America up until this, kind of like we were hoping until last week. And that's why I'm not in Slovenia, or else I would have been there, Andrea. And no, I'm not afraid of spy bots or, that we're being watched right now. I'm so happy to be able to participate a little bit, even though that I'm just on a screen and a computer.
One thing that might be interesting, because we have been talking quite a lot on different topics today, but it seems that everybody, starting from his singular experience, has been developing his or her topics on a more collective way. I've been in Copenhagen recently, and of course the menu was incredibly fucking good, but also the menu at Noma, of course. But also it really seems, even more than ever, even more than before, like a perfectly collective flow. As the pandemic, as this physical situation of being closed to the public, but at the same time working, gaining a certain advance on time, as it produced effects that you may not have anticipated before.
Yeah.
Can you give us a couple of examples?
Well, you realize just how busy you are on a everyday. Normally, everything that you want to achieve, small and big, you're always doing it in the strange hours of the day, after service. When there's guests, you're so focused you can't do anything. And so if you want to achieve something new for your team, if you want to plan for something better, it's such a slow moving wheel on a day-to-day basis that it seems, you're inching along, and 3 years down the line, you may have moved 5 meters ahead. Whereas during the pandemic, we were able to do leaps and bounds in terms of how we plan for ourselves. And that became our main focus during the pandemic times and during the lockdown is, set aside the financial ruin. And I know it's not as bad as it sounds, but, we have some years to catch up on that. But let's just put that to the side. There's nothing we can do about it. We've reacted in every possible way we can. We've tried to do dinners all around the world. We served burgers to get through it.
It was very noble of you.
And it was fantastic for us. It was what made us go through last year, not just financially, but also as a team. It was a team building exercise, like going to a pop-up in Japan. But we focused on ourselves. We said, okay, let's find ways to stay positive, stay productive. Those were the two main things. And then we set up these groups of people. One were in charge of the simplest things. We had like a hiking group, and we would go hiking twice a week. We ended up the hiking group walking a marathon from here to Elsinore. From Copenhagen to Elsinore. And then we had a myriad of other things in which we had some moments to grow as a group of individuals, independently, but also together. And it makes such a difference. It makes such a huge difference. So now the challenge is, as we're opening up again, even though that we're going to go through another up and down winter.
Do you think so?
Yes. Unfortunately, yes, I genuinely think so. But how can we have this creativity that we live for and do the best that we can for our guests, but also have time for ourselves, which is not that easy to solve. But that's what we're trying to plan for at the moment. And the pandemic gave us that, And it brought us all closer together. We were kind of like, okay, let's stick together. That's the one thing we can do during a lockdown period. So there's been many, many, many good things about all of this.
2 questions before I ask the audience if someone has a couple of questions. You mentioned it, the pop-up in Tokyo, but being in Copenhagen, sticking together, getting the machine going, full blast, bursting up with new ideas and creativity and whatever. Don't you miss the big adventure of Noma closing for several months and flying somewhere with all the members, the family, and living an adventure? And not only living an adventure, not only cooking in Australia, but also leaving something behind, because the important thing, if I may say so, in Mexico was not the miracle of this restaurant who popped up in the middle of the jungle, but is that when you left all the links, all the networks, the mamas doing the chickpeas flour, the products, you established a little network, so you were helping the community. Don't you miss that kind of opportunity of, sailing all together for a new big adventure?
Are you kidding me? I mean, I can honestly say, besides having children and getting married, the pop-ups have been the biggest experiences of my entire life, professionally and personally. Nothing compares to it. Even the best day at Noma, nothing compares to the best day at a pop-up. Imagine going 110 people, children and all. You put people in schools, in kindergartens, you take care of everything, housing, transportation, medicals, and then you open up this place that you plan and you built it, and it lasts for a few months, and then it gets dismantled, and everything that happened at the restaurant disappears, but everything that you worked for with the people around it, that stays, and the friendships, the energy, the creativity, all the learning is still there. And I can say so much that, because these are not going to happen, but we did have 3 more pop-ups planned out. At least one of them was 80% planned out, and the two others were being worked on, and it was maybe 50% planned out. Now, none of them are ever going to happen as they were planned, and maybe they will happen sometime in the future. I doubt it, but we had three things in the works. We had Los Angeles, we had Istanbul, and then we had Tbilisi, Georgia. Those were the three places that I wanted to go. Our team wanted to go to.
You wanted to go to Sunset Boulevard?
We had a pretty cool plan for Los Angeles. It would have been extraordinary if we could have done it. But all of these things are postponed for a long time, and they're probably never ever going to happen. But we had already been to the different countries. We had started planning in all three places. Some of them was far ahead, but those things they for various reasons are not happening. But we're still working on things, Andrea. I mean, the thing is, during these times here of actually of the lockdowns, one of the things I also encouraged myself to do in our team is we need to focus on everything that we're extremely good at and everything that makes us very happy. Let's focus on that and push. So we still are working on things that could happen soon, actually. None of those three places, unfortunately.
Okay, last question. Because having all this time and spending more time with the family, I understand you have started a big project, what we might call the Couture project. Can you say a few words about that?
The what? Say that again.
The Couture project. The Nadine and the Kids project.
Ah! Hey, I can't see. Are you wearing a shirt?
Of course, of course.
Oh, right.
So it's what is it? It's
just the kids and Nadine drawing on clothes and giving it to people, and it's become quite popular. Everybody wants a shirt now.
See, maybe we could help you to find some financial backup, and you might one day end up Tiffany or Dover Street Market. All the. Is it something that Nadine would like?
As long as I don't have to make frozen lasagna, if it's a T-shirt with an image of frozen lasagna on,
yes.
Why not? If it gets us through this period, we're up for it.
Okay, hold on. Is there a candidate for a question? I can see. Why don't you come on stage so René can see you? Come on. Might be easier. Oh, but it's an old friend.
Hi. Do you recognize me?
Of course I do.
With the bangs, it's my new look. My question is, when the pandemic hit and everybody had to shut down, especially restaurants like yours, and we talked at that time, and you said this is a real rupture. I thought that restaurants would never come back the same way, that there would be like a philosophical chasm, something that would change radically in the way we see food and we see the role of high-end restaurants. And it seems from what I see on Instagram that the way you're cooking right now is quite in continuation with what you were doing before. So my question is, what has the pandemic changed exactly? Not so much in the financial security of businesses, of course, but in the way you see food and the role of super high-end fine dining with a lot of creativity in it. Has that not changed at all?
Maybe it's still too early to say that. Right now, I think everybody is in basic survival mode. We are allowed to be open for 5 months. Let's see if there's another lockdown around the corner. Let's have as many guests in as possible to serve so that we can get through it. I mean, of course, in my own mind, there's many things that's changed in my mind. We have started planning for a myriad of things, but I think people mistakenly always think that there is some sort of magical light switch that, okay, now the pandemic happened, everything's going to open up, and with a light switch, everything is different and completely new and radical. That I don't think really will happen with anything, but I think a lot of things are happening. But it's everything in our industry, I always compare it to building a pyramid in the old days. That's how our industry is. We're still carrying the stones one by one to make some sort of change. And we have some very big ideas that we're working on. And I prefer not to speak about them because I think I will jinx them. But of course, this period has changed me forever. There's no question about that. Also, the way that I view food and its role for everything. I mean, food is the key for everything that we have, our environment and our health. So we can have a voice in this as an industry. We should have a voice in this. And I have some specific ideas that I want to work on as it relates to what I've just said. But we are trying to lay these foundations right now in this year and the next year to see if we can actually make some sort of impact. But before we actually have something ready and it's going to happen, I prefer not to speak about these things because then they're just words,
But I thought it would be a bit like a nouvelle cuisine in France in the 80s, like a disruption that would bring everything back to a much more simple cooking. Because once confinement was over, everybody was just happy to be together. You could have served like salad and sliced tomatoes and a glass of wine, and everybody was already happy because we'd missed each other so much. So I thought, like I was looking at how you were cooking and a lot of the other restaurants, and I wanted to say, like, you guys, you don't have to put that much effort into it. We're just happy to walk inside the restaurant. It could be so much simpler.
But we have to make ourselves happy, and ourselves happy comes from the creativity, the thing about being in the unknown. That's what makes us happy at the restaurant on a daily work, or else it's just too much work, then the transformation would be completely different. We'd have to make Noma into something different. But I genuinely think it's still a little bit too early because I agree with you. As you said, the first lockdown, it was only 3 months, but it felt like 5 years. How are we ever going to return back to something? And then everything opens up, and I've never seen Copenhageners so happy. All the microaggressions were gone. On the bike path, people were smiling to each other and saying, "Hey, neighbor," and then a second lockdown happens, and we open up again, and it's kind of like, we're back to the get out of my way on the bike path. Why are you blocking me? So I don't know. I think it's still a little bit too early to say what's gonna happen beyond all of this. I think, in my opinion, and of course, everything is just pure speculation, but the way that we feel it, the way we discuss it at the restaurant is that for us, we need another winter to understand, so that, will we lock down again this winter? Most likely something is going to happen. And so it's still kind of dramatic times, and people shift their mindset every 6 months, a little bit. So I still think it's a little bit too early, but I can just say, Anne-Marie, the way that we are planning, the long-term planning, that has shifted quite a lot for me during the last 2 years. It's been an incredible creative moment, and I'm not talking about putting a reindeer penis on the salad, that sort of creativity. It's the long-term vision for what we want to achieve. That has really started something new in us. And it has made us plan in a completely different way. And it's extremely exciting for us.
Can't wait.
Is there another question? And the last one? Can I see? Yeah, well, come on stage. Here she's got.
Is it cold in Slovenia?
Not much, no.
Hi, chef. Hi. You said that you want to make Noma the best place where to work. What is there to improve? How are you planning to do that? And is this somehow related to the pandemic? Have you discovered some new values or some values that were more important to you?
I mean, it's a very big couple of questions.
It was 3, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. No, I mean, this is something that we had, as a management team, we had set many years ago. You know, much more difficult than being number one is being a place where, how do we fuse wanting to be on the cutting edge, wanting to be the best at our profession, having that edge and drive, at the same time also making sure that people can breathe and live and grow at the same time. There's no light switch here. So first of all, it starts with me, you know, that I want this and I can step away from how I used to do things, you know, and I don't think the pandemic has changed anything like that. We've just had more time to actually plan in a more profound way. You know, you could spend a full month on thinking through everything that you thought would be a good thing, and so we're just following in the track that I think we have been putting for a long time. When we opened this new Noma, one of the things that we told ourselves, that I told myself, that we promised ourselves when we moved here, is that we have to shed off all the bad habits that we had at the old Noma. We cannot go into a new place and bring the bad habits. And so we've been here 4 years at this place. We were closed 1 year. So this has been planning for 6 or 7 years where we're in now. And it's a much, much bigger challenge than making the next menu, is figuring out how do a group of people, diverse, from all corners of the world, at different ages, some have kids and some don't, and high pressure environment, we have to always perform, be the best. How do we also figure out to do that, you know? But there's also another part of this, is that, you know, this whole idea that that everything is only on the restaurant trade itself. And I do believe we have many things that we can do ourselves, having better leadership skills, being able to respectfully make people do the work they have to do. That is something that can yield incredible change. I have experienced that myself, having had many years where I was an extremely poor leader because I just couldn't figure out how to do it. But then starting a transformation has yielded huge things. But at the same time, we're also in a situation where the vast majority of our industry is an extremely low-paid industry. There is no money, not even on an executive level. The profits are minor in most of our industry. At Noma, we have 18 years of being open. Our average profit has been 3. I'm not counting the pandemic here, because then it would be much less. You know, you don't have like, oh, here you go, let's spread out another 25% of salaries and put a back of the house with a full HR team and so on. Nobody really has a formula for this. And so when people ask me these questions, I always say we have to get ready for food becoming much more expensive. Not just on a fine dining level. It's, you know, a Mars bar should be more expensive. That's the reality. The value we have for food needs to shift. Not us here in the industry, because we love it. We're crazy. We work like this every day because we actually love it. But in general, the value is at an all-time low, and we expect things to be cheap all the time. And the reality is, every time something is cheap, and everything is too cheap, somebody is paying a price for it. It could be an intern, it could be the chef de partie or the waiter, but it could also be a farm worker, and typically it is, but it could also be a tree or a plant or a lake. A drop of water is paying the price in a strange way, you know, for us to have a continuous flow of cheap things. And so the future will be much more expensive stuff. That's what I think. even on an everyday level. We have to figure out that one.
Thank you so much.
To finish on a... Okay, we have one last question, René. There she comes.
Yeah.
Hello, hi, Chef.
Hey.
Hi. I have one question. Let's talk a little bit about Noma legacy. Now, Noma is credited of creating this whole army, legion of, Noma alumni. Wherever you go to, for example, Tulum, you see this legacy of Noma, be it in natural wine movement or the way you treat and approach the terroir. At the same time, where do you draw the line between, the pupils you're really proud of or some that might be piggybacking on Noma success and Noma name? Thank you.
It's funny because honestly, today, for instance, we had an incident where somebody contacted me and said, hey, you have an employee that has been harassing me. And it turns out this employee has been with us 7 years ago for a very, very short period of time, but was still saying they work with us. I've experienced everything you can imagine where David Chang has once called me and said, hey, somebody's here saying that he's your restaurant manager. And my restaurant manager, their restaurant manager was James. He was at work. We've experienced all sorts of things, and it happens all the time. You have no idea. I've even tried once Nadine getting a phone call, my wife, from one of her friends saying, I'm so sorry, but René has cheated on you. And then some idiot has been in a bar saying that he was me and been with a friend of this. So they, it's just crazy. And so we're kind of used to hearing all sorts of things. And where do you draw the line? We don't draw the line. I think it's everybody that's gone through here, they have a role to play in the success of Noma. I really appreciate everyone that's been through here. And if people have been through here, whether it's for 3 months or it's for 8 years, I feel like they have a right to say, I was here and I did it, and sometimes you don't need more than 3 months for something to happen in you, and that's fair enough. I feel like in this conversation, though, it's extremely important to mention that I do not at all work for any sort of legacy. I do not do that. I don't think it matters. I think unless you're like Gandhi or someone, people just forget much, much quicker than we think. So it doesn't matter to worry about, too much of some sort of a restaurant legacy, because if Noma closed in 2 years, 20 years from now, nobody would remember us anyway. We say that now, but
Not sure about that.
Andrea Petrini, man, you can have young cooks in the kitchen and you ask them, who is Michel Bras? And you can have 20 people and there will be one person putting up their finger. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yes, really. You can't be so surprised about that. I mean, people are forgetting the Holocaust. Of course they're going to forget. So it doesn't matter too much. I think what matters is what we do now and how we are in the moment. And we should worry about that, not what our legacy should be.
Okay, René, before we part ways, personal question. What is the book that you are reading at the moment?
I'm actually reading the Thomas Tranströmer, the poet, Swedish poet. I'm reading his memoir.
Should I read it too?
I've just started it. I received it yesterday. And the thing about this memoir is that it's a memoir that's 70 pages long, and it's like this. And usually memoirs, they're like...
Yeah.
And I just thought, for sure, this guy has made something incredible.
Okay. Thanks a lot, René.